Alright. I know we're doing this out of order. We don't normally do the combo first, but I really wanted to show you this before I show you the deck list because that's going to spoil you, and this is really neat. So we're just going to get started. So I'm going to activate Spellbook to add 4 different Charmers. It matters which ones we grab here, and then we can put 2 bricks back in the deck. Then we can activate to Fusion Summon using 3. We need to keep Dark in hand for what's about to come. But using the fusion monster, we can just bring back the other 3 that we used, go into with 2 of them, specifically not Lina, into Exy's Armored Torpedo. Imagine we use its effect to draw and we just draw literal nothing. But then we can use the fusion itself and our Lina on field to go into Familiar Possessed Lina. Familiar Possessed Lina can add, if you're an unfamiliar, any spellcaster with 1500 defense, which is a pretty shallow pool, but it works for our purposes here. That's going to let us get Chaos Allure Queen. Now, because we still have Dark in hand, we can use Chaos Allure Queen, pitch the Dark to summon herself, and then use her effect to equip the Dark from the grave to summon out another Allure Queen from deck. It doesn't really matter which in this situation. And what this does is Chaos Allure Queen gains the name of the card equipped to it for the rest of the turn. So we can go Dark plus our spent Torpedo into Magistus Chirozzo, and then use the still named Dark the Dark Charmer Chaos Allure Queen along with whichever other one we summon to summon Familiar Possessed Dark from the deck to then add any level 3 or 4 light spellcaster monster. Here I get Sylvie, but when we get to the actual profile, I'll explain. There's so many options for this, my guys. But here we have a normal summon, so we can normal summon the Sylvie and do full White Forest combo off of this. Woohoo! With bonus extension. We go into Visas Amritara. Imagine we have nothing else in hand. Again, we drew literal nothing off of the Torpedo, and we're just going to keep going anyways. So Amritara gets us Reframing, and then we can use the tails to go get Elzet Azamina. Elzet Azamina summons herself out, and then we can go into Risiella, pitching off the Reframing, and then adding Sinful Spoils of Slumber Morian so that we have something to pitch for the Elzet that we're searching off of Risiella herself. So we pitch Morian, summon, add Diabells, go into our... At any point, we could have just used the 2 materials to go into Vengeance Dragon and just do it here. But then we use our 6 and our 2 to go into Diabell, Queen of the White Forest, and use her effect to add back Mannadium Reframing. Here's another cool little thing that this deck does that I'm excited to show off. So the Vengeance Dragon can put Visas Amritara in the back row. So that's pretty neat because Visas Amritara reads, this card's name becomes Visas Starfrost while on the field. And Mannadium Reframing reads, blah 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 blah, if you have Visas Starfrost on your field, destroy the negated card. So even just putting Amritara back here turns Reframing into a negate and destroy instead of just a negate, which is a really cool synergy, y'all. Unfortunately, we're going to pitch him for Elzet or Diabells here so that we can do the rest of the White Forest combo, but there's so many cool synergies here. So we send Curse to add Philia. Philia adds the Vengeance. By banishing 2, we can summon the Vengeance, we can place the Morian, we get to keep the Reframing. So off of drawing nothing of any relevance and having no other cards in hand besides the 2 we put back, we end on full White Forest end board plus some, which is really neat, and there's so many cool synergies, and I'm so excited. Let's get into it. Hello everyone and welcome back to another video, this time featuring the Allure Queens and the new Charmer stuff and White Forest. This is a weird one, guys, which is why we started it off kind of weird, but I wanted you to see the really cool synergies we did before the deck itself got spoiled, and before I had to tell you that while the deck is incredibly fun and can hold its own in the rogue tier, it's probably not going to be the single best deck. And that's largely because while it's actually pretty consistent, we've got 17 cards I would consider 1-card starters. Those 17 are interspersed with a whole lot of bricks and conditional cards that mean we have no room for non-engine whatsoever. But if you're here for a deck that's actually really neat and has lots of little synergies that are just fun to pull off and cool to think about and rewarding to remember and rewarding of skilled play, and not necessarily here for the best deck, then you're in the right place. So first up, we're going to address the elephant in the room. You can add any level 3 or level 4 light spellcaster in the game to your hand without using your normal summon. So in the sideboard here, just like a smattering of the things that you can do with that. So Riliona can add Very Magic, the new spell for Magistus and Witchcrafters, and that's just full Magistus combo, which is crazy, and it's going to get even better once we get Spoon, and hey, by the way, you can just add Spoon off of that as well. You've also got, like, Ecclesia, which can do full Sword Soul combo. Whem gets you into Branded. Centurion Primera is full Centurion. Fairy Tail Luna does neat stuff, and it's going to be even better once we get the full Fairy Tail support, because the full Fairy Tail support turns it into an actual archetype instead of just a few cards that share a name. And then later down the line, again, there's like the better Fairy Tail stuff. Spoon makes the Magistus line even better. And then we've got like the Regulus and the Very stuff coming down the line, which is absolutely insane and helps you get into basically any spellcaster engine. So like, the combo's really neat is what I'm trying to say. And it's consistent. We just don't have the room for non-engine, which is gonna hold us back in the long run. So with that out of the way, what's the deck actually doing? So this is primarily a White Forest deck. That's like easy to tell. We are doing White Forest Synchro combos, but we are using these auxiliary engines here that allow us to get extra bodies and have a whole lot of extra starters, because you see, White Forest in Genesys is a little bit kneecapped. Even if you run all of the names at 3, that's basically all you're doing, is you get 9 starters out of that, which is kind of grody, especially when 6 of them are normal summons. So this gives us extra extension and extra engines and extra end board at the cost of, well, all non-engine. You can see I'm playing 1 Thrust, and Thrust is really neat in this deck because it can add you a Spellbook of the Grand Circle, it can add Tails or Philia or Woes or anything really, basically just a ton of different fun, good stuff. But outside of that, nada. Like, there's no board breakers, and while White Forest can kind of break a board a little bit, you really want some outside help to do that effectively, and we don't have that here. So that means that if you go first, you have a really high chance of winning in this deck, and going second, really low. But, you know, it's fun, and you get to use Allure Queens. How often do you get to use Allure Queens? So because we don't have really any space in the main deck, instead of throwing in like board breakers and hand traps and stuff, I just threw in the good extra deck stuff that we have easy access to. So Chaos Angel, we can make that real easily with a Chaos Allure Queen and an Allure Queen level 3. That's going to be a Light Dark Chaos Angel. Outside of that, you can also make it with like a Spent Amritara and one of the White Forest level 2s. That's only going to be light, but that's the more important effect anyways. Especially because we get to play Awakening of the Possessed, which is a really interesting card. So the idea here is that in a specific situation, if we have the right extender, we can search this instead of bringing back one of our level 3 Charmers, and that's going to let us draw a card as part of the natural combo. One of the big problems here is that we pitch our hand a lot, so adding in just incidental card draw here and there can help fuel us for bigger, longer combos. But also, if we leave this on field, all of our monsters gain 300 attack for every different attribute we control. Our end board is normally at least going to be light and dark, which means everybody gets 600, and then we will often have like Vengeance Dragon out there as well for another 300. Sometimes we can make Jura for another 3. So our stuff just gets real big, which means that it's not getting walked over in battle anyways, even if we don't have the dark effect of Chaos Angel. And that just threatens the board immensely because we've already got protection from White Witch because we are playing White Forest, so this is a card that is going to be as part of our end board. I don't know, it's a really well protected, layered board. We get like Morian, we get Reframing, we get Woes to book on the opponent's turn. Lots of good layered interactions going on, as well as protection. And just like a lot of bodies anyways, and we can sometimes put some really good follow-up together, courtesy of the White Forest engine and Allure Dance. Like, you gotta remember, if you don't know what this card does, it's Soul Charge every single turn. Think about that. You get Soul Charge every turn. That means we can pretty much always make something work for follow-up if they don't, completely drag us down to 0 or D-shifter us or something like that. And who's playing D-shifter? So anyways, yeah, that's kind of the gist of what the deck's trying to do. We're a White Forest deck. We synchro climb. The one weird thing is we're playing Ebon High Magician, which is a pretty cool rank 7 that we can make with the Allure Queen engine sometimes. We have the Armor Torpedo and the Chirozzo for the reason that you saw there, so that we can get an extra card draw and then get an extra tuner so we can combo further. Outside of these 3 weirdo cards, the rest of this is just White Forest stuff. Lulu Lilith is probably the most take it or leave it thing here, but I find myself running into wanting a second Synchro 12 sometimes, and like, Lulu Lilith's the second best. It's still quite a bit worse than Vengeance Dragon, but it is a disruption that can also special summon out like a Astalar or something on if it gets removed from the field, which gives us follow-up. So it's not awful, but it's not great. It's fine. It's fine. But anyways, before we get into games, I'm going to show you some random hands just so you're under no illusions about this being, like, not bricky or amazing or anything. Just to see kind of the quality of hand you're going to be working with. And we'll go until I can also show you the Allure Queen line while we're doing that. So let's go ahead and start. Cool, this works perfectly fine. So this hand's actually cracked out of its gourd. And that's because you might notice Spellbook of the Grand Circle is turned off right now. Oh no, we can't use it. We've drawn one of our garnets. How tragic. Well, we can fix that in this deck, which is pretty cool. So we're going to go Allure Dance to add Allure Palace. Then we can activate Allure Palace and use its effect to pitch the Win to grave to add Chaos Allure Queen, which is a card that we want to get access to at some point anyways. And hey look, the Win's no longer in our hand, which means we can now activate Spellbook of the Grand Circle. I'm not going to do that because I already showed you what the Spellbook of the Grand Circle combo does, but that's just like a neat synergy that is in this deck, which is why we don't need to play 5 or more Charmers like we do in the Goblin version. We have other ways to get it out of our hand. So then we're going to go with Allure Palace and just pitch Morian, I suppose, to add. We want to summon 3 from deck. We'll go 7 to hand. We have now used Allure Palace twice. We got to keep track because we can only use it 3 times per turn. So we're going to go Chaos Allure Queen, pitch level 7, summon herself out, activate her effect to equip the level 7. Then we can special summon the 3 from deck. What do we want to do here? We can flip out Golden Allure Queen into Astalar. So this is the basic, like, you just open the Allure Queen stuff combo. It gets you to Astalar, and then you can use Astalar pitch cards from hand or from the field to summon Sylvie and go through the full White Forest line, which is really neat. And we have extra bodies. And because, I'll do this now, I suppose. What do we have in grave? We've got 7, 7, 3. So we're going to go, just as an example of something you can do, F.A. Dawn Dragster, and then we can soul charge by pitching the Allure Queen to grave to summon back 3 names. And then we just have 3 more names to work with. That's a free Chaos Angel plus an extra. How dope is that? And that's, obviously, this is not the combo you want to be doing here, but just to show you, like, the options that are available in this deck that are really, really neat. So, yeah, let's do a couple more hands, because that was a really good one, and again, I don't want the deck to accidentally look really good. This is okay. Yeah, no, this is fine. This is, like, this is a White Forest hand with 1 added brick and, like, I guess 2 LZs means 2 bricks, but this functions. This is a functional White Forest hand. This is an incredible hand. Okay, I said I was going to show you that it can brick sometimes, but it's not doing that. And this is a hand that really benefits from having the Spellbook of the Grand Circle as a starter. So we're going to go Secrets, because this can bait out an Ash Blossom if the opponent doesn't know what's up. Then we can go Grand Circle, add 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we can put back some stuff we don't want to see. We'll go Vengeance, because we'll get access to her later, and the Allure Queen. And this keeps a couple of things in hand to pitch for the White Forest stuff once we get there. Pretty tight. Okay, here we go. This hand sucks. We can't actively do anything here, and this is just what's going to happen on occasion. We've got 4 bricks in the spellbook that is garneted because we have dark on field. So this is what's going to happen on rare occasion with the decks, so don't assume it's better than it is. Same thing here, except here we can normal summon Dark and then activate Tails to get Elzette, at least, I suppose. This is something. This does, like, partial White Forest combo. So it's not completely useless, but it's not very good. But, oh, you know what? We pitched the Spellbook. That means we can fuse with Spellbook, so that's actually not useless. It's okay. So we can go Charmers. Which ones did we actually have? We had Water and Dark. That means that we can't do Lina combo. Well, we'll grab Awakening because we can at least pitch it, and we'll special summon one name and see what happens as we go. And special summon out Rushia. Then pitch, I guess, Awakening to draw a card. See if we draw out of it. No, that card sucks. Go into Risiella, pitch a card, and, you know, it's like we can sputter and kind of get somewhere on this one, but it's not great. It's not stellar, and this is what's going to happen just on occasion. Well, we can add Chaos Allure Queen here. Actually, that's not bad. Chaos Allure Queen, pitch Allure Queen level 5, summon herself out. Activate, equip, I guess just Allure Queen level 5. Yeah, Dark's already on field. Well, hold up now. Now we can summon out 3. We can go... we do anything from here? Sorry, I shouldn't be trying so hard, but, you know, we're learning lines. But this actually, I guess, does stuff. Surprisingly, we go into Dark effect, add a Sylvie we can't use at the moment. Okay, but that we'll call this hand there. But just let the point be known that even on a bad hand, we can sometimes make some stuff work, but you will occasionally, like, completely gum up the works. But sometimes you also see a hand like this, and it's completely cracked out of its gourd. So that's the duality of this deck. Be under no other implications. Cool? Cool. Okay, I played exactly 1 game with this deck because I wanted to end on a high note. This hand's really good, and we're going second into Gladiator, which is, I think, about the right power level for us to be fighting. Though Gladiator can do some pretty scary things. They get negates on the board, and they put giant guys, and they're hard to deal with. Well, but our hand's pretty good, and the way that this goes, they're only really going to end up putting monster interaction on board, and we don't have to use monster interaction until after we break their entire board. So here's how this works. We've got Dark in hand. I really want to use this Spellbook of the Grand Circle, so we need to get the Dark out of our hand before we can do that. We go Allure Dance to add Queen because we already have Palace, then we'll use Palace, pitch the Dark to add just any Allure Queen. That just gets Dark out of our hand so we can use Spellbook to add the 4, put back the Allure Queen in the extra copy, and then banish to do our fusion summon. But wait, they have a monster negate on board, and they can special summon from the extra deck. Isn't that crazy? Well, no, because when Spellbook of the Grand Circle activates, you cannot respond to what it summons. So Charmers here can bounce their entire board. So that's cool. And then we also just happen to have gas on field to pitch with our White Forest stuff. That's full White Forest combo, and they're pretty dead at this point. Except I make the one fatal flaw of not reading what the hell Flavian does. So we're just gonna combo off for a while here. And I don't do the most efficient combo, and I don't set up the most interactions, because I'm like, okay, they've got one card in hand, we know it's just a useless body that doesn't do anything. I checked their graveyard. I made sure to check their graveyard, but I forgot that Flavian can just summon from the deck. Well, crap. And it can't be destroyed, huh? So we can do a whole bunch of damage, but it still keeps them alive, and they'll flip out. Okay, fine, you've got follow-up. I'm not going to be nice anymore. So we can pitch the Morion, because it can set itself from grave anyways, to do the Allure Queen line to get into a Chaos Angel, while also making Vengeance Dragon. So we can get rid of the Flavian, get a book, put their monster in the back rooms, and say, do your worst. Because while they manage to hang on for a turn, we've got a lot of interaction on board, and they're just gonna scoop it up when they see that their bait doesn't work, and we can just like book the Test Bear, and they're pretty screwed. Or more likely I was going to hold it for the contact fuse from the extra deck and then just book that, because everything Gladbeast does is at ignition speed, so we can just shut them off at our leisure. That's the only game I played with this deck, and it's the only one I need to play to tell you that it's the best deck in the format, so please don't go build this deck, but like, if you want to, it's really fun. Just don't expect it to look like this every game. Do we need closing thoughts on this one? I think I've made myself clear. The deck's really fun, and it's really funny, and it has some really neat interactions. But God, is it bricky. I don't mind that once in a while, but if you are a person that gets frustrated by losing, maybe don't play this one, especially losing to yourself. Don't play this one. I don't know. I worked on this for a day. I'm still kind of trying to figure out what would be optimal. We put so many bodies on board, is it right not to play the Vengeance line? That takes 3 bricks out of the deck. Maybe we don't play, well, no, we probably play Morion, because we're going to play White Witch either way, and we want something to send off of it, so we could take 3 bricks out by going down Vengeance, Curse, and the Philia. It gives us a little bit more to work with. The rest of this, just Awakening could come out. I don't feel good about doing that. We could play Queen at 1, but she's a really good starter / extender as long as we see any other name. So I don't feel good about taking her out. It's a weird deck where we have a lot of cards that don't do combo, but we need those cards to do combo. So I don't think there's any way to make it perfect, but like, feel free to iterate. Let me know if you got ideas on this one, because it is fun, and I have all of the cards for it, so I could play it in person and just get either stomped out of my mind at locals, or just stomp everyone else if my RNG holds up, which it won't, and it never does. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this one. Kind of a silly one after yesterday was a pretty actually good deck that I have worked a lot to tune. But it's a throwback. I did, what was it? It was Allure Queen Witchcrafters was one of my very first videos. Please don't go back and watch that. I did it in preparation for this one, and real bad. But now I digress. I hope you liked it, guys, and I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.